Welcome to Gun Club Radio. My name is Aaron, and today I want to tackle the subject of everyday carry, but I want to throw a slight modifier in there because I feel like this specific community gets little to no love, especially from the manufacturers and even content creators. I want to talk about everyday carry, but more for the plus size person, whether you're a man or a woman, but more specifically, with today's guest, we will be kind of leaning more into talking to women. What are some of the things that you need to know to successfully carry in ways that maybe you thought were off limits to you just because of how maybe you see yourself or things that you've been told? Today, we're going to be talking to the amazing Amber, who has been making content focused around concealed carry tips for ladies for a long time. She's been doing a dang good job at it. Welcome to the show, Amber.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure to have you. Now, let's kind of just dive right into it. Let's talk about some of the tips and techniques that you've discovered and have been teaching and educating your audience on for the past several years. Specifically, um, I guess let's start with number one. What's I guess your the first thing you kind of address when you're talking to your audience about carrying as plus size?
Essentially, I like to empower my audience to know that if you are interested in concealed carry, you should also do so with your own style in mind. You shouldn't feel like you have to um, remove things from your closet in order for it to work for your best interests.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's huge because I remember when I first got started, I felt like there were so many things I couldn't wear. Oh man, that shirt's a little too snug. Oh, okay, man, this is not going to work for me. But you're saying that you can overcome that. Maybe can you give me one or two examples of things that you personally had in your closet that you were just like, man, I don't know if I can carry with that. Oh wait, yes, I can.
Absolutely. So, for example, I have on this mesh top right now. It's pretty form fitting to the body. But essentially, you would think that I wouldn't be able to conceal carry with this top, but there's a plus to the fact that it has different dimensions to it. It has different colors, different shapes, which distract from where I'm concealed carrying. And I understand that printing is a really big issue with folks in the community, but when you choose bottoms that are a little bit larger or have a high waist, you're able to allow that firearm to rest a little bit more neatly against your body or your frame in the hills and valleys, and you can make it work for yourself.
Okay, so essentially, as you're keeping your personal style, this is what I'm hearing. Correct me if there's any misunderstanding.
Mhm.
Maybe you can keep that top that's a little bit more form fitting. You don't have to go into, a men's fishing shirt. But if you mix and match with maybe a flowier pants or bottoms, or, vice versa, you can kind of mask and conceal in a way that works. Am I hearing you right?
Exactly. Exactly. And of
Awesome.
course, we have vests and jackets, those things, especially when it's colder months. You can definitely use those different accessories to conceal when you're not taking off those layers in day to day.
Yeah, well, that's perfect. Was there maybe another outfit from your wardrobe that you thought, man, this is not going to work, but you made it work? Was there any others?
Oh, leggings for sure. Leggings when I walk my dog were like a really big thing, because I you can see it when you're wearing leggings or when you're going to go work out. But there's a lot of like concealed carry fanny packs on the market that allow you to carry off body but still have that discreet experience. And then of course there's like holsters that are a little bit higher on the chest. So they sort of are hidden by folks who are a little bit more well endowed. And you're able to change where you carry, but it doesn't really change how you carry, if that makes sense.
Excellent. Now, I mean, kind of staying in that same vein of clothing and whatnot, I remember one of the first things that I learned when I was like YouTubing and Googling and trying to figure out how to conceal carry. Okay, first gun was a Glock 19, which is a little thicker than what they have for concealed carry nowadays, which is more like Glock 43X, P365, slimmer guns. And one of the things they were like, man, if you're gonna carry, you got to change out all the pants in your wardrobe. You got to go up two sizes. So if I was wearing like a 38, I was going to a 40, and so on and so forth. size pants and belt loops and all that. Even belts, you're going to have to go up on your belts. Let's talk to even, I guess, even the plus size dude out there, but I think this conversation is a little bit more tailored towards the ladies. Is that still the case? Or, I mean, I assume it is, but what's your input on that?
Sizing up definitely helps. And I understand that our favorite brands don't always carry a size larger than what we already wear. And that's a fashion industry issue and not necessarily a gun industry concealed carry fashion issue, but some different modifications is reducing the sizing on the holsters that you choose. So I know a lot of rigs that are on the market at this time, they allow for multiple mags. They're a little bit wider in their circumference. They use a lot more kydex in their thickness, which is great. And they definitely have their durability. But when you're considering the fact that you might be on the larger end of the spectrum for the clothing that you already wear, it's important to sort of pick your battles. That's the best way to put it. Um, and there are a lot of great holster options out there that are a little bit more sleek, and then they also offer a more concealed experience for deep concealed carry. Whether you're deciding to carry appendix or 3 o'clock, it really just depends on what type of feel you are going for, and where you are a little bit more blessed on your body.
Yeah, well, I've talked to a couple different holster manufacturers, and there's one in particular. People can go back and watch that episode. It was like 3 or 4 episodes ago, where they talked about concealed carry principles, peaks and valleys, where your body kind of extends out and where it kind of dips in, and really putting the gun there. And that takes a little bit of learning and unlearning, but I think if you're looking to properly conceal, that's maybe the best way to do it. But
Hmm.
let's talk about carry position, because I know you carry an appendix. A lot of ladies either, just depending on where they are in life, whether they've just, had a kid, maybe they don't feel confident and comfortable appendix carrying because they're just not quite comfortable with that. They think, oh man, what, I have to carry it off body, or I got to carry in a purse, because they can't carry at 3 o'clock because women are built a little bit more wide at the hips in general. So the gun would definitely show, and it just wouldn't work for them. What's your philosophy for yourself, and maybe what do you generally recommend for the ladies who you interact with or teach or are in your audience?
For myself, I justify appendix carry simply for timing. When you get to that stage in your ability to defend yourself, it's always about how much time it takes to get to your firearm. And reaching into a purse takes seconds, and sometimes minutes to undo that zipper. While appendix carry could be something as simple as reaching into your skirt or under your dress or into your jeans to grab your firearm. What I will say is that there are a lot of belly band options that have sort of like a kydex insert for those who have some issues with trigger control, and you can adjust how you dress by wearing that belly band a little bit higher up on your belly area. I personally like the comfort concealment belt for those who like to carry around their chest area. The chest itself is a really good concealment space for those who don't mind wearing a looser blouse and tighter bottoms when they get dressed.
So we talked about some of the different carry positions, and that's excellent work. Considering, especially for the ladies, they have a few more options. If you can carry it higher, you can carry it lower. A lot of women's pants are high waisted, so you can go deep concealment. Um, and you kind of discussed that, especially with some of the high waisted pants. Now, I've always kind of wondered about deep concealment because it's a little harder to get to the gun, but I suppose you could counter that with some training. What are some tips that you have for, even guys and gals trying to get out there and get better with guns? A lot of people, they buy their first gun, they put it by their bedside, they really never touch it again. They put it in a shelf in the closet. They feel, oh man, if something happens, I'll just go to the top shelf and grab it down and I'll protect myself. But if you've ever shot a gun, you know it's not like that. What are some tips and suggestions that you have for kind of going to that next level, or even getting to level one?
That's a really good question. I'd say for me, I was the reason why I even started caring, but also making content is because I didn't see anybody that looked like me or was built like me that was making an example of what it looked like to safely conceal their firearm. And essentially, I believe that the concealed carry content creator space is going to start evolving in such a way where folks are going to start showing how they carry with different body types unapologetically. And I look forward to continue to like champion alongside others in that space to provide different outfits. Um, but of course, dry firing is something that is extremely important, but when you're purchasing your first firearm, when you go to a range, you should always shoot it before you buy, especially if you have a range near you that has rental options. And consider how much space you have in the clothes that you already have. So, although you might not be jumping right into concealed carry, all you can really do is, like one thing I did was I put on like my favorite jeans and I actually tried to stick my fist in the front of my pants. And that gave me a good understanding of how much room it would take for me to remove the garment out of the way and reach for my firearm if I needed to draw from the holster. So of course, since I worked in the industry, while I also was a first time gun owner, it sort of allowed me to have that hands on experience with firearms at different sizes, full size, subcompact, and compact options. So I was able to have a better understanding of what it might look like to choose my first gun, but everybody doesn't have that experience. So the good rule of thumb is going to the range, testing, shooting things, but also getting a good understanding of how much space is actually allotted in the clothes that you already have, and then choose a frame of a firearm that fits into that range. So, of course, we have those don't go below certain size first, as far as like compact firearms for like
Mhm.
recoil reasons, first time firearms owners, but it's really a trial and error thing.
No, absolutely. I 100% agree. And I wish everyone got a chance to shoot all the guns that I've ever shot. When you say like handguns, just so they could really get a good idea of what would really work for them and maybe what they're not really into. Some guns recoil, you know, and they feel like they're punching you in the hand. And some people like that and they're fine with it. And while others are a little softer, but they're, you know, softer shooting rather, but they're much larger handguns and very difficult to conceal, but not impossible if if it's wintertime. That said, I suppose even the thought that there are some guns that are better seasonally, like if you want to carry in the summer and you're kind of wearing just kind of a lot of nothing, then maybe a P365 in the original form factor is kind of your best bet. Maybe longer barrel just to kind of give you a little bit more recoil control, but the smaller grip would probably be easier to conceal versus, say, like a Glock 17, which has a massive grip, huge, like thick polymer. Everything's just crazy. But that's just a thought. Um, and I know this is like a super frustrating experience for most people. Like whether you're the most petite person or you're in kind of more in the plus side territory, like it's concealed carry's tough. This journey is long. What's some advice that you give people just to help them to kind of get through this?
Take your time. Definitely take your time. And I understand that when it pertains to safety, there's no such thing as taking your time with safety. But when you're purchasing a firearm that you cannot return, you definitely should take your time in purchasing things. And talk to people, especially online. I try to make myself available to people who are accessing my content. They come into my DMs, they book consultation calls, and they say things like, "You're built like me. What are you buying?" And then they go out and they buy what I've purchased, and then they wear their holster around the house to get used to it, and They, practice loading their magazines to build up that grip strength or that magazine loading strength while watching TV. It's really boils down to who is your first mentor, who is your first instructor, and how much empathy they have for your situation.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for kind of walking us through this. If you have any more like major tips you want to share, you can share it now. But also on the back end of that, or if you don't have any additional tips for right now, can you at least let people know how they can reach out to you, especially if they're, maybe wanting some consultation, maybe wanting to get some advice, or just wanting to reach out and follow your work?
Yeah, so my personal page is TheAmberGJ, the Amber GJ, and my business page is Gales Futuristic Fire, GayleFuturisticFire. And they're both simultaneously, there's collaborative posts, so you'll never get lost.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this installment of Gun Club Radio. This is actually part of a longer live stream conversation where we go into some of the details and intricacies of Amber's life. It's a fascinating conversation. So I hope you'll head over there and check it out. We'll link to it in the show notes and description. Whether you're on podcast or on YouTube, you'll be able to find it. And thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned for the next thing that we have coming up real soon. All right, guys. Peace.